Hi, guys.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
So we're going to be talking about VR and social impact, but there's a lot of terminology that surrounds VR. Really just three terms: VR, AR, and 360 video. And I have strong opinions about all three of them. And I know you do too. So Anjali, tell me about what Vimeo is doing right now with those new formats and which one you're embracing most.
I work at Vimeo. For those that don't know, Vimeo is the world's largest ad-free video platform. And our mission is to empower creators to push the boundaries of storytelling. And we do that in a couple ways. We do that by providing the highest quality tools, cutting-edge technology, resources, and what I think is the world's best creative community, but an inspired community to help our creators experiment in storytelling. And one of the things that we've been really interested in is obviously immersive storytelling and what is happening there. We recently launched 360 video on Vimeo, and we are fully experimenting with VR and AR as well. But 360 is sort of an interesting place right now because I think there's a lot of talk about how to make 360 video more accessible to viewers. Headset sales, the cost of headsets, the experience. But there's also a lot of work that needs to be done to lower the barriers for creators. And that's what we're trying to do. We are trying to really democratize the creation of 360 video, and so that anyone is able to experiment in this new medium. And we're doing that in a couple of ways. Obviously, anyone can upload and share their 360 videos on Vimeo. We also just launched a video school, which is just full of really great resources. Things like glossaries, best practices, tips on everything from storyboarding and scripting in 360 to stitching and editing, and just showcasing examples of really amazing work by different creators.
This was something Vimeo had been doing for a really long time as well, guiding filmmakers to become better filmmakers. And so how has this evolved with 360?
So I think the biggest pieces that are different is the education piece is a major hurdle in that, and we certainly haven't figured it out ourselves, but there's a lot of terminology, there's a lot of different gear, there's different price points. We actually, our in-house team, when we did our first 360 video, we grossly underestimated how expensive, timely, complicated it is. And so really just bringing that information to the forefront, I think is really important. Another thing that we're really focused on is actually helping creators earn money from their 360 work. So we have sort of an open marketplace where anyone can sell 360 videos directly to their consumers. It's the only major marketplace out there. And the benefit of that is that it is time-consuming and costly for creators. And so if they're able to self-fund these projects and monetize this work and this experimentation, then we hope people will do a lot more of it.
Although it's a tricky business right now because it is so new.
Yeah.
And I won't poke at you too much about that. Well, you've been monetizing videos on Vimeo for a while as well. And the alternative model would be the YouTube model, where if you watch a 30-second video, there might be a 60-second ad before it, and there might be a banner ad covering the video. So why this approach? How does this fit with the Vimeo ethos, and what do you hope filmmakers can gain?
First of all, we want creators to earn money in whatever way they can from their work. So I think the YouTube model is great for a lot of content, especially if you're able to garner a large audience, right? It's an ad-based model, so creators are getting paid based on views, and so if you can get millions and millions of views all the time in a consistent way, you can make real money. The reality is that for 360, and for a lot of other genres, and for a lot of our creators, like that's not the kind of content they're making. They're targeting very specific audiences where they're not going to get 50 million views on YouTube, and that doesn't mean that that work should not be viable and that that work should not be something that can be successful. So our approach is to allow creators to set their own price. We give them tools and resources to help them reach their audience, obviously on Vimeo as well as off Vimeo. But I think that what we've seen is, compared to the type of stuff that you might expect to see on YouTube, we see a lot of interesting types of projects emerge. Obviously, more cinematic and narrative projects, documentaries, music videos. But in 360, we're also seeing some really interesting other use cases. Things like surgical training videos, real estate videos, architecture, a lot of stuff impacting with social impact, like highlighting the plight of others and building empathy. And so it's really great to see those genres start to emerge, and it is very early days. I'm sure we've only seen, like the tip of what will come, but the bottom line is that not all content is going to perform well on a YouTube, and we want to be a place for the rest of it.
That's a terrific segue to introduce Julia and Julia's work. But before I do that, based on what you were pointing out, this is a time when people are throwing so much money at VR. It's such a hot ticket buzzword, but at the same time, back in the early days of the web, no one quite knew what it was. And back in the earliest days of video on the web, people kind of owned up to the fact that this was just moviola material that you were watching, and there was this great potential for the future. With VR, I think probably because there's so much money in the hardware, you kind of have to talk the talk that this is it. But with VR and AR and 360, it doesn't quite seem to be it yet, because it requires the use of headsets, which are clunky, cumbersome. And Julia, you started off as a still photographer who went to really dangerous and complicated parts of the world and captured imagery from there. And at a certain point, that evolved to something more than just still photography. So if you could please roll the footage in the background now, I'm going to show some of Julia's work, and you can talk about this project, and you can talk about that evolution from still photography to 360 video.
Okay. First, I studied international relations and diplomacy, so I was really into politics, and I started visualizing politics. That's the reason why I started taking pictures and making movies. And with 360 degrees video, it's a gift for me because I can share my experience and I can bring the stories back home and make people understand.
And so what was your photography like before? Tell me some of the places Tell me some of the places you can openly talk about having gone to. I know you've been to North Korea, and you've been to other places where you might not be allowed back in or let out. So what are the ones you can talk about?
So I have been in over 80 countries, but I have been in the worst war zones. I don't know which one I can mention. There are 3 countries I can't mention. Democratic Republic Congo, Gaza, I don't know which one I can mention. So I have seen a lot of war, I have seen revolution, I have seen killing, atrocities, and I was wondering, why can we not learn? Why human people are not able to learn, even though we have history books? Maybe it's because we are reading the history books and we just don't connect it. So I thought, how about bringing virtual reality into history books? So a child reading about the revolution in Egypt can actually put on the glasses and be right in the Tahrir Square. And he can look around and he understands this psychology of masses, what it is, this moment. And yesterday I was talking to Anke Domscheit-Berg, she just left. She was born in the former DDR, and she was in the opposition, so she was really suffering. And she told me she really would have liked to have this technique to show her son how it was to be on the wall when the wall broke down and she saw the faces of the people, and she could show her son the wind of change and this moment where people understood that it's over forever.
And what led you to go from, at what point did you switch from stills to 360? Because it's clearly about the idea behind it, not the technology itself.
I think virtual reality or 360-degree videos, they can be a game changer, because these are not ordinary moments anymore. In this moment, when you're inside and you see it with your own eyes, you become a witness, and the moments become memories. And we have the opportunity to create a collective memory.
Tell me about what footage everyone is looking at behind you right now. This is an amazing, amazing place that most likely none of you have ever heard of before.
This is in Transnistria. It's a country that has like our own parliament, own police, its own currency. It has everything but international recognition. So officially this country does not exist. And this was interesting for me because it's in Moldavia. And these people know everything about us. They know everything about Trump. They know in Germany who is the goalkeeper from FC Bayern Munich. And we don't know anything about them. And they feel really neglected, and a lot of people are leaving to Russia. And I try to give them a face and start a visual dialogue so we don't forget about them.
I love this guy.
This guy, he's an officer from the Ministry of Interior of a country that doesn't exist officially.
But they do have Take Your Daughter to Work Day in this country. It's kind of magical. Keep scrolling before she disappears. There she is. Now, so you're going to these places that are
It's a caviar farm. It's a really poor country, but it's full of contrast. There's nothing, and everything that exists belongs to one family, and this is a very big caviar farm. I never saw it somewhere else.
So everything is in this kind of state of limbo. And for this piece that you're showing behind us, how long did you work on it? And how did you find a home to go into where you could just set up a camera for a while? And how did you choose which footage to show?
I have traveled. I mean, my vision is to start a virtual reality encyclopedia, and I want to show the people with hard data, but also with the foundation to show common ground. And I think it's really important to know in which world we are living in, and not to forget about other people. I mean, we can move to the moon, but we don't know about Transnistria. So I would like to change this, and I just started by myself, and I went to different islands of isolation, because I saw this trend, especially in Germany. There's a lot of criticism about government, and there's a desire to separate, like Brexit, and I was looking like, what if this is really translated into reality? So I went to islands of isolation, and I went to all over the world to crazy places, and I visited a sect in Chile, the former Colonia Dignidad, the peak of isolation. Then I went to a South Sudanese refugee camp, and I went to the warlords in Congo. And yeah, I just would like to give the people the opportunity to see it with their own eyes, and to get involved and to get to know the world we are living in.
So, Anjali, tell me about some of the projects that you're seeing. You've got so much exposure to what filmmakers are making and how the boundaries are being pushed because you're connected with their distribution platform. What's some of the stuff that you're really excited about in terms of both documentary type material and even narrative material? What's fun these days?
I think I'll answer the first part, which is sort of what's interesting, and then because this is a topic on social impact, I'll tie it to that, and especially I think some of the inspiring work that Julia is doing. But there's a lot of VR being used for social impact. As I mentioned, as sort of like a tool for empathy and understanding. One piece I think is really interesting, and it just was premiered in Tribeca Film Festival by a Brazilian filmmaker named Ricardo Laganaro, called Step to the Line, and it partners with a nonprofit that focuses on prison inmates and giving them entrepreneurship and job training. And it's just a really amazing thing to create a 360 video where you are in a 9 by 11 foot cell, and you are experiencing what that really feels like. And then they go through and bring you into this world of this nonprofit's training program, and you're able to experience it from the perspective of a prisoner, as well as a guard, as well as like the nonprofit administrator, and it's a really great way to sort of expose the journeys and the experience of people that you might not have empathy for or understand. And I think it's a really sort of inspiring project. In terms of other fun stuff, we see everything on Vimeo. There is some really crazy fun work. One piece, Zurich 2.0. It's the filmmaker took 3D photos or 3D stills of all aspects of Zurich, the city, and basically use it to construct this, like, you're watching the city come to life, which is awesome. I've seen some really cool music videos that sort of go behind the scenes, and sort of, if you think about behind the scenes, it's the perfect, the definition of behind the scenes is that you're there. You can look around and and so to see sort of this behind the scenes of a music video shoot from all angles is also really cool. And then, as I mentioned, I think there's like some other non-narrative examples of interesting things. We've seen research universities start to experiment with VR as a tool for therapy, in treating PTSD or phobias. And that's stuff that's, you're getting into really kind of tricky territory and a lot left to be figured out there. There's a lot of risks, there's a lot of benefits. But yeah, so it's everything.
Well, as media evolves, they always talk about this notion of leaning forward and leaning back from media. So there was a time when that related to television, when it was super lo-fi and movie houses were glorious. And then there was a time when that related to video on mobile devices or on the internet, and now everything is 8K or whatever. Streaming. So this is a format where you can't actually look away, and you're forced to look in and look deeper. But at the same time, it's still, treading water, content-wise. And last week that Oculus shut down their Story Lab? So the first platform that I think people were really talking about with VR was the Oculus headset. And they had an amazing in-house team. They had some of the most incredible programmers and designers working there. And they were winning awards left and right, but they just cut funding for that. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I don't have sort of any inside knowledge about the decision to do that, but my perspective and what I think is the case.
Is there hope?
I think there's absolutely hope, and first of all, that was their in-house team. Oculus continues to fund other VR projects, but to me, it actually is a sign that that sort of the need to seed VR and encourage creators to create in VR is becoming democratized, and barriers are lowering, and you don't need to have that kind of investment necessarily. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't still do that, but I see it as, my read is they fulfilled their mission for the most part in terms of the in-house funding, and they want to put those dollars elsewhere, and so I think there's absolutely hope. And we launched 360 Video on Vimeo a month ago. We've had tens of thousands of videos uploaded already, and it is growing. And as I said, the different types of genres and stories that are being told just continue to get more and more interesting and diverse. So I feel very, very hopeful.
Julia, what would you like to do next with 360? Where would you like to go, or how would you like people to experience your work?
First of all, I really would like to thank Vimeo, because for freelancers like me, it's wonderful to get an infrastructure to do their work. And my, like Huxley once said, to travel is to discover that everyone is wrong about other countries. So my goal is just to start like a visual dialogue and to use virtual reality or 360 degrees as a mutual communication and like a instrument of peace, actually.
Now, and tell me about some of the, tell me about a VR or a 360 or an AR piece that you've seen that like has really moved you. What's something that you really like outside of your own work, of course?
Yeah, of course. From Chris Milk, there is Clouds Over Sidra. It's about a girl, a refugee girl, and it was the first time he showed it at the World Economic Forum, and it was the first time that the people felt like they were sitting in front of this girl, and this girl told them her story. And this changed a lot of thinking.
So in filmmaking, there's this notion that the director guides you through everything. There's this implicit trust. They take your hand. They show you what to see, when to see it. They choose the cuts. They choose the angle. They choose the lenses, which might have a different impact, which for a non-filmmaker would make no sense. But you know, because we all have one of these, we're now much better photographers and filmmakers than we were a decade ago, and we know what like a slight move by your hand might do to something, and that's really powerful, and that's lost. In filming our own 360 videos and in our video school, this is a topic that comes up a lot, which is oftentimes 360 filmmakers, there's still ways that you can direct or guide a story in a 360 environment. Audio cues, cues from the people in the story, the way that they're moving, the way that they're looking. There's a whole way of doing it, and I think that is still, obviously still, the rules are still being created, but there are ways to kind of guide the story. And then there are also, part of the story is the fact that there isn't one, right? Or you're making your own. I mean, that's the whole thing. That makes it amazing. And so I do think there's a lot there. It sounds like you have some.
For me, that's actually the best fact about virtual reality or 360 degrees, because this brings back credibility to journalism. So when I go, for example, to Congo to the Warlords, I write an article, I make pictures, but additionally I offer 360-degree video, so the writer can be there by its own, and maybe they see something I didn't see, but they have the chance to be totally free and look from their own perspective. That's what I like about it.
I mean, it's funny. It's there was someone clicking around to show that kind of VR experience that you might otherwise have if you were wearing a headset, but it's sort of like a cat playing on an iPad the whole time. Sorry, guys, but it was kind of like that. And there's something fun about that, but. And I love what you're saying about journalistic integrity, where we're so used to the notion, or we're so media savvy these days, that we might see a photograph and wonder what's happening everywhere outside of that picture. And with 360, there's nowhere to hide. So that's an amazing, amazing discovery that we have now. We've run out of time. And so I want to thank both of you for coming up and talking about what Vimeo is doing with 360, Anjali and Julia for showing off your work, and thank you, DLD, for having the three of us up here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.